Thomas Jefferson was inaugurated in March of 1801. His road to victory, however, was bumpy and unpredictable. Federalists threatened civil war if Jefferson was elected, and Republicans believed John Adams was trying to turn America into a monarchy. Jefferson defeated John Adams, but tied with his running mate, Aaron Burr. They both received 73 votes. The House of Representatives was to decide who would become president. After 6 days, Jefferson was chosen.
To avoid this situation in the future, Congress created the 12th Amendment. The 12th Amendment changed voting entirely. It made it so the Vice President and the President were both voted for separately.
Jefferson was the first president to be inaugurated in Washington, D.C. He traveled on foot instead of in a luxury carriage. He did away with bowing to the president, and he suggested that people shake his hand instead.
Jefferson decided to make many changes to our country. He believed the federal government had too much power and was too involved in economic affairs. Jefferson reduced the number of U.S. diplomats and fired all tax collectors. He cut the military's budget in half and reduced the army from 4,000 to 2,000. He also got rid of all federal taxes inside the country. Jefferson also worked to undo the Sedition Act and all its effects. He was successful. To maintain Federalist power, the president before Jefferson appointed many new judges in his last hour of office. Republicans argued these jobs were given so Federalist power would remain. Jefferson told his Secretary of State to cancel the appointments, which resulted in one of the judges suing the Secretary of State. Even though the judge lost his appeal, judicial review was established. Judicial review is the authority of the Supreme Court to strike down unconstitutional laws.
Now that the Americans had freedom, they can start settling in new places and start making their idea of a free country become real. In 1801, a crisis developed. Spain secretly transferred the Louisiana Territory to France. The French ruler also wanted to conquer Europe. If the French ruler controlled Louisiana, the westward expansion of the United States would be blocked off. Before the transfer ever happened, America's position in Louisiana was threatened. Jefferson was forced by his people to fight against the Spanish people because the Spanish tried to withdraw the rights of Americans to ship their goods through New Orleans.
A surprise offered. Thomas Jefferson decided to try to buy back New Orleans from the French. Jefferson tried to make a deal by sending two friends to go and negotiate about buying the territory. France bought the whole Louisiana Territory, including the enormous area stretching from the Gulf of Mexico to Canada and from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains, for only $15 million. France needed money to support the war against Britain that was yet to happen. The Louisiana Purchase doubled the U.S. land and gave them millions of acres of fertile farmland and other natural resources.
Jefferson's dilemma. Jefferson was very happy about the deal for the Louisiana Territory. There was a dilemma, however. The Constitution nowhere states that the president can buy territory from a foreign country. Jefferson decided he didn't have the authority to buy the land. Instead, he made a treaty that was approved by the Senate. Congress quickly voted to pay for the land.
Lewis and Clark explore the West. Jefferson paid for Lewis and Clark to go on a western expedition. Lewis was an army captain, and Clark was an army officer. They were sent to bring back information on geography, plants, animals, and other natural features of the region. He also sent them to contact with the Native Americans and to find out if there was a waterway between the Mississippi River and the Pacific Ocean. Into the unknown. Lewis and Clark headed up the Missouri River with 40 men and tons of supplies. They had a few French Canadians and one of their enslaved African Americans named York. They finally met the Native Americans at the mouth of the Platte River. They traveled on to the Great Plains. They reached the territory of the Mandan people, which is now known as North Dakota. They camped there for the winter. Then Sacagawea and a French Canadian joined them on their journey. They headed to the Rockies in April 1805 and reached the Continental Divide by August. They met a group of Shoshine warriors, and the chief was Sacagawea's brother. and the Shoshones agreed to sell their horses that were needed to cross the Rockies. At the Pacific, they reached the Columbian River and built canoes for downriver voyage. After a long voyage, they saw the Pacific. They began to return in March 1806. It took them half a year to return to St. Louis. Pike's expedition. Another expedition left the city heading west shortly before Lewis and Clark got back. Zebulon Pike led the party to explore the southern part of the Louisiana Territory. Pike's return route took them into Spanish Mexico. They were arrested for coming off as spies. They feared that Pike was gathering information so that the Americans could take over the region. The men were finally released back to the U.S. Pike's information created American interest in Spanish Mexico.